The ocean is not the peaceful blue paradise people imagine when they book a tropical vacation. Beneath the shimmering surface, it's a brutal battlefield of hunger, survival, and some of the most terrifying law enforcement on the planet. Forget police sirens and courtrooms. This is a world where justice is delivered in a single, swift bite. Apex predators aren't just the bullies of the sea. They are nature's regulators, the unseen force that keeps marine ecosystems from descending into absolute chaos. Without them, the ocean would spiral into an anarchy of jellyfish takeovers, fish gang wars, and coral reef slums. It's the kind of dystopian nightmare that would make a sci-fi writer weep. But let's start with a simple question. What happens when there are no predators? Well, we don't have to wonder. We already have proof. When humans meddle with the delicate hierarchy of the ocean, nature doesn't respond with a polite, "Oh, don't worry, I'll figure it out." No, it retaliates with an ecological horror show. Take, for example, the case of the Newfoundland cod fishery collapse in the 1990s. For centuries, cod were the ruling class in the North Atlantic, keeping smaller fish and invertebrate populations in check. Then humans, being humans, decided to overfish them into near extinction. The result? A monstrous explosion of shrimp and crab populations, which in turn decimated the seabed, threw ecosystems into disarray, and left fishermen scratching their heads wondering where all the cod had gone. It was like removing lions from the Serengeti, and then being surprised when the antelopes partied so hard they ate everything in sight. This is exactly why apex predators are not just big, scary things with teeth. They are the architects of ocean stability. They control who eats what, how often, and most importantly, who gets to pass their genes along to the next generation. Without them, the ocean doesn't become safer. It becomes a lawless wasteland where the most annoying creatures thrive. And trust me, nature has some incredibly annoying creatures. Ever heard of a crown-of-thorns starfish? No? Well, lucky you! These spiky menaces are reef-destroying monsters that multiply like rabbits on caffeine when their natural predators disappear. One minute you have a thriving coral reef, the next it's an underwater ghost town because these guys showed up and ate everything. But let's talk about the heavyweights, the true enforcers of the deep. You might think of sharks first, and you'd be right. They are the ocean's most misunderstood gangsters, patrolling reefs and open waters like mafia bosses, ensuring that prey populations don't get out of hand. But it's not just about eating, it's about who they eat. Studies show that sharks tend to target weak, sick, or old prey, which means they're running an elite underwater healthcare plan, albeit a very permanent one. By removing unfit individuals from the gene pool, they ensure that fish populations stay strong, fast, and disease-resistant. If sharks had a motto, it would be survival of the fittest, because we ate the others. And then, of course, we have the ultimate intellectuals of the sea, orcas. If sharks are the enforcers, orcas are the criminal masterminds, running sophisticated ocean operations that would make the Italian mafia jealous. Unlike sharks, which rely on sheer strength and instinct, orcas are cold, calculating strategists. They study their prey, adapt their hunting techniques, and pass their knowledge down like wise old professors of the deep. They don't just hunt, they train their young, communicate in complex dialects, and most terrifyingly, sometimes kill just for sport. When they decide that a great white shark is in the wrong neighborhood, they flip it upside down, rendering it motionless in a state of tonic immobility, and then rip out its liver like a gourmet delicacy. It's as if they read the shark's anatomy textbook before heading out for dinner. But the power of apex predators extends beyond just hunting. They sculpt their ecosystems. Have you ever heard of a trophic cascade? It sounds fancy, but it's just a nerdy way of saying that when you mess with the top of the food chain, everything below it goes haywire. We've already seen this happen with wolves in Yellowstone. When the wolves were removed, deer populations exploded, stripped the forests bare, and threw the entire ecosystem into disarray. When the wolves were reintroduced, everything from plant life to bird populations bounced back. The same thing happens in the ocean. Take the case of sea otters and sea urchins. Sea otters may look cute and cuddly, but don't let their fluffy faces fool you. They are ferocious when it comes to keeping sea urchin populations under control. Why does this matter? Because when sea urchins are left unchecked, they devour entire kelp forests, turning vibrant underwater jungles into barren wastelands. These kelp forests aren't just pretty, they provide shelter, oxygen, and food for countless marine species. So in a way, sea otters are the furry little eco-warriors of the ocean. And when they disappear, well, let's just say the urchins party so hard that it leaves nothing but destruction in their wake. Apex predators also shape the behavior of their prey, which is just as important as controlling their numbers. Ever wonder why schools of fish move like synchronized dancers, shifting and darting at the slightest disturbance? That's because predators keep them on edge. This isn't just an evolutionary quirk, it's a necessary survival strategy. When predators are present, prey move smarter, avoid overgrazing certain areas, and don't linger in one place too long. But when predators vanish, prey species get lazy. They start overfeeding in certain regions, stripping seagrass beds and coral reefs bare, leading to environmental collapse. It's the same reason why people drive better when they know there's a cop car nearby. Without the fear of consequence, recklessness takes over. This is why humans are the worst disruptors of marine law enforcement. When we overfish sharks, kill off orcas for entertainment, looking at you, marine parks, or drive sea otters to near extinction, we don't just remove an animal, we break an entire system. It's like firing all the security guards at a stadium and expecting a rock concert to stay civilized. Spoiler alert, it won't. Overfishing top predators has led to skyrocketing jellyfish populations, coral reef collapses, and fishery crashes worldwide. Without sharks and big predators around to keep mid-level predators in check, populations of species like groupers and snappers boom, which then leads to the overconsumption of smaller fish that help maintain the ecosystem. It's a domino effect of destruction. So the next time you hear someone say sharks are scary or orcas are dangerous, remind them that without these apex predators, the ocean would turn into a dystopian nightmare of overgrown seaweed slums, jellyfish infestations, and fish acting like unsupervised teenagers at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Nature doesn't operate on kindness, it runs on balance, and that balance depends on the terrifying, ruthless, and incredibly efficient silent enforcers of the deep. And if you still think predators are the villains of the sea, well, just wait until you hear about the creatures that actually deserve that title. Spoiler, they have no brains, multiply uncontrollably, and have been quietly planning world domination for centuries. But we'll get to the jellyfish later. If the ocean had a janitor, it would be the tiger shark. But not the kind of janitor who quietly mops the floor and keeps things tidy. More like the chaotic, unhinged garbage disposal that eats first and asks questions never. Tiger sharks are the reason why the ocean doesn't smell like a rotting fish market 24/7. They don't just hunt, they clean up the mess that nature leaves behind, swallowing anything that vaguely resembles food, dead or alive. And in doing so, they unknowingly prevent the sea from turning into an overpopulated, disease-ridden disaster zone. But let's get one thing straight. Tiger sharks are not picky eaters. They are the ultimate opportunists, munching on everything from sea turtles and stingrays to actual license plates, tires, and for some reason, entire chickens, feathers and all. Scientists have literally found car parts inside tiger shark stomachs, which raises several unsettling questions like, who is throwing cars into the ocean? And why do tiger sharks think metal is a food group? Despite their reputation as the garbage disposals of the sea, tiger sharks are more than just ocean vacuum cleaners. They play a vital role in maintaining balance. They keep sea turtle populations in check, which might sound cruel until you realize that too many turtles means too much seagrass being eaten, which leads to coastal erosion and the destruction of entire marine nurseries. Think of tiger sharks as the ultimate turtle population control officers, ensuring that the ocean doesn't become a barren wasteland of overgrazed seagrass beds. And it's not just turtles. Tiger sharks also help regulate stingray populations, which, when left unchecked, can turn into silent underwater crop destroyers. Stingrays may look harmless, gliding around all elegantly, but when there's too many of them, they overfeed on shellfish, wiping out key species that keep sediment and algae levels in balance. Without tiger sharks keeping stingray numbers in check, these rays bulldoze their way through entire marine environments, leaving destruction in their wake like underwater locusts. But here's the wild part. Tiger sharks don't even have to kill to do their job. Just their presence alone is enough to send other animals into a panic, completely reshaping their behavior. In Shark Bay, Australia, researchers discovered that when tiger sharks are around, dugongs, those adorable chubby sea cows, suddenly stop loitering in shallow seagrass beds like lazy sunbathers and start moving around more cautiously. This prevents them from overfeeding in one area and actually helps the ecosystem regrow and replenish itself. The same goes for turtles and stingrays. When tiger sharks are patrolling the waters, their prey doesn't just sit around stuffing their faces, they stay on the move, allowing marine habitats to recover. Now imagine what happens when tiger sharks disappear. Chaos, absolute chaos. Without these top-tier predators enforcing the rules, sea turtle and stingray populations explode. And before you know it, entire underwater landscapes are stripped bare, like a buffet after an all-you-can-eat college night. It's like removing security guards from a shopping mall and being shocked when looters wipe out the place in minutes. But tiger sharks aren't just enforcers, they are built for survival. Unlike great whites, which rely on ambush hunting tactics and dramatic breaches out of the water, tiger sharks are pure persistence predators. They don't chase down prey in high-speed pursuits like a Hollywood action movie. No, tiger sharks lurk. They wait. And when the time is right, they strike with terrifying precision, using their serrated teeth, literally shaped like can openers, to slice through flesh, bone, and even thick turtle shells like soft butter. Their bite force isn't even the strongest in the shark world, but it doesn't have to be. Their teeth are specifically designed to saw through anything, making them one of the few sharks that can consistently eat sea turtles, a skill that many other predators lack. And once they bite, they don't let go. Instead, they shake their heads violently, using their teeth like a saw blade, tearing through their prey piece by piece. It's like watching a living chainsaw in action, except, underwater and way more terrifying. What's even more mind-blowing is that tiger sharks are essentially immune to human interference. Many marine animals struggle when their food sources dwindle due to climate change or overfishing, but tiger sharks? They adapt. If fish populations drop, they switch to eating more turtles. If turtles get scarce, they scavenge. And if all else fails, well, that's when the whole eating license plates and tires thing comes in. Tiger sharks are so unfazed by pollution that they have been found with literal trash in their bellies, yet they just keep swimming, completely unbothered. It's like finding a raccoon that eats batteries and somehow thrives. But despite their resilience, humans have been taking them out at an alarming rate. Overfishing, shark finning, and indiscriminate culling programs have wiped out large populations of tiger sharks, disrupting the delicate balance they maintain. And when they disappear, that's when we start seeing the nightmare scenario unfold. Coral reef collapses, seagrass bed destruction, and marine ecosystems spiraling into complete dysfunction. The absence of tiger sharks doesn't just mean fewer big scary fish in the water, it means entire habitats falling apart, affecting everything from tiny fish to the global seafood industry. So the next time someone tells you that sharks are nothing more than mindless killers, remind them that without tiger sharks, the ocean would turn into an overgrown wasteland of turtles and stingrays running rampant. They're not villains. They're not monsters. They are the unsung heroes of ocean stability, the tough, unrelenting janitors of the deep, making sure everything runs smoothly, even if it means occasionally snacking on a traffic sign. And if you think tiger sharks are terrifying, just wait until we get to the most feared, most intelligent, and most ruthless hunters in the ocean, the orcas. If the ocean had a mafia, orcas would be the ruthless crime bosses calling the shots. Forget great white sharks. These black and white assassins make even the most feared predators tremble in their wake. With intelligence that rivals primates, an eerie ability to communicate in complex dialects, and a hunting strategy so calculated that it borders on criminal mastermind levels, orcas are the true rulers of the sea. They don't just survive, they dominate. And unlike other predators, who are driven purely by instinct, orcas sometimes hunt for reasons that are less about hunger and more about sport. Let's get one thing straight. Great white sharks may be terrifying, but orcas make them look like clueless amateurs. When orcas roll into town, great whites don't just fight back, they flee. Entire coastlines that were once shark-infested waters suddenly become shark ghost towns when orcas are around. This isn't speculation, it's cold, hard fact. In 2017, scientists documented an event so disturbing that it sent shockwaves through the marine biology world. Orcas hunting great white sharks like oversized tuna. And they weren't just biting them to assert dominance. No, they were performing precise surgical extractions of the shark's livers. Yes, you read that right. Livers. Turns out great white sharks have incredibly fatty, nutrient-rich livers, and orcas have figured out that they're basically ocean foie gras. Instead of bothering with the entire shark, orcas have developed a method so precise it would impress a neurosurgeon. They flip the shark upside down, inducing tonic immobility, a weird physiological reaction that essentially paralyzes the shark, like it's been hit with a tranquilizer dart. Once the shark is helpless, the orcas slice it open and remove its liver with eerie accuracy, leaving the rest of the corpse to sink like an unfinished meal. It's the underwater equivalent of a highly organized heist, quick, clean, and terrifyingly efficient. But orcas don't just terrorize great whites. They hunt everything. Want proof? These apex predators have been documented slapping seals 50 feet into the air, launching themselves onto beaches to snatch unsuspecting sea lions, and even taking down blue whales, the largest animals to have ever lived on Earth. That's like a wolf deciding it's hungry and taking down a full-grown elephant. In groups, orcas are practically unstoppable, working together with levels of coordination that would make Navy SEAL teams jealous. And their tactics? Utterly ruthless. Ever heard of a wave wash attack? It's one of the most calculated and coordinated hunting techniques in the animal kingdom. When orcas spot a seal chilling on a floating ice sheet, they don't waste energy trying to climb onto the ice. Instead, they work together to generate massive waves, rocking the ice until the poor seal slides off into the water, right into their waiting jaws. It's a strategy they teach their young, meaning orcas have the equivalent of generational crime syndicates, passing down hunting techniques like family heirlooms. And if you thought that was bad, consider their serial killer-like habit of playing with their food. Orcas have been seen tossing seals into the air for fun, toying with stingrays, and dragging unfortunate prey around in a game of cat and mouse before finishing them off. In Argentina, orcas have even figured out how to beach themselves temporarily, launching onto the shore to grab unsuspecting sea lions before wriggling back into the water. Imagine if lions figured out how to temporarily turn into cheetahs, just to increase their hunting success. That's what orcas have done. But why? Why are orcas so intelligent, so strategic, and so ridiculously successful? The answer lies in their culture. Unlike most predators, whose instincts are pretty much hardwired at birth, orcas are culturally driven, meaning their hunting styles, behaviors, and even their accents are taught and passed down through generations. That's right, orcas have regional dialects. An orca from the Pacific Northwest sounds different from one in Antarctica, and different pods don't always understand each other. This level of communication is mind-blowing, putting them on the same level as elephants, dolphins, and even some primates. And let's not forget the ultimate orca flex. They have no natural predators. Nothing in the ocean dares mess with an orca, not even sharks. They are at the very top of the food chain, the ocean's undisputed rulers. The only real threat to orcas, humans. For decades, humans have kidnapped orcas for entertainment, cramming them into tiny tanks in marine parks, robbing them of their natural behaviors, and forcing them into a life of miserable confinement. Wild orcas swim up to 100 miles a day, communicating, hunting, and socializing in their complex societies. Captive orcas? They're stuck in a glorified bathtub, swimming in endless circles, deprived of their families and their culture. And what happens when you take an apex predator and remove everything that makes it an apex predator? They lose their minds. Take Tilikum, the infamous orca from SeaWorld, responsible for the deaths of 3 people. This wasn't some bloodthirsty monster. It was an animal driven to the edge of sanity, a highly intelligent predator trapped in a lifeless existence, denied everything that made it thrive in the wild. The real horror of captivity isn't just that it's cruel, it's that it destroys one of the most intelligent creatures on Earth. But even in the wild, orcas are now facing new threats. Pollution, climate change, and depleting fish stocks are making survival harder. And as apex predators, they are one of the first species to feel the effects of ecosystem collapse. When humans disrupt marine life, it's orcas that suffer the consequences first. And when the rulers of the sea start struggling, the entire ocean is in trouble. So, what's the takeaway from all of this? Orcas aren't just predators. They are the architects of balance in the ocean. Their presence keeps ecosystems stable. Their intelligence drives the most complex hunting strategies on the planet, and their dominance ensures that no single species overruns the ocean. Without orcas, entire food chains would unravel, prey species would explode in number, and marine ecosystems would spiral into chaos. And if you still think great white sharks are the real kings of the sea, just remember this: when an orca shows up, the great white runs for its life. Now, orcas might be the ultimate gangsters of the deep, but they don't have a monopoly on ocean crime. Because coming up next, a predator so fast, so sneaky, and so unexpectedly vicious that even the most experienced divers get chills when they spot one. Meet the Barracuda, the assassin of the coral reefs. If orcas are the gangsters of the deep, then barracudas are the ruthless hitmen, silent, swift, and armed with razor-sharp teeth that could make a horror movie villain jealous. They don't go for dramatic kills like great whites, and they don't play with their food like orcas. No, barracudas are all business. They strike with explosive speed, tearing through schools of fish like a living torpedo before disappearing into the shadows. Their method? A single well-placed ambush. No chase, no unnecessary struggle. Just a brutal, efficient kill. At first glance, barracudas don't look like much. They don't have the massive bulk of a shark or the intimidating presence of an orca, but underestimate them at your own risk. These lean, missile-shaped predators are built for speed and precision. Clocking in at over 35 miles per hour, barracudas can strike faster than most prey even realizes what's happening. Their weapon of choice? A mouth full of needle-like fangs, so sharp that they don't just bite their prey, they slice it into pieces like an underwater guillotine. But what really makes barracudas terrifying isn't just their speed or their teeth, it's their stalking behavior. Unlike most predators, which either chase down prey or lie in wait, barracudas follow their target like a ghost, hovering just outside the victim's field of vision. Imagine being a small fish, swimming peacefully, only to glance over your shoulder and see a barracuda silently tracking your every move. No rush, no sound, just a pair of cold, unblinking eyes watching. By the time the prey realizes what's happening, it's already too late. And here's the real kicker. Barracudas don't just keep one species in check. They regulate entire reef ecosystems. Without them, fast-breeding prey fish like snappers and groupers would devour juvenile fish populations, leading to overcrowding, coral reef damage, and ecosystem collapse. Think of barracudas as the silent enforcers of balance, making sure no one species gets too cocky. But barracudas don't just strike fear into fish, they terrify humans too. Unlike sharks, which rarely target people, barracudas have a bad habit of mistaking shiny objects for fish scales. That's right. If you're swimming with jewelry on, you might as well be waving a dinner bell in front of a barracuda's face. There have been cases where barracudas launched themselves at divers, snatching necklaces, watches, and even spear guns from their hands before vanishing into the blue. One unlucky fisherman in Florida even had a barracuda jump out of the water and impale him in the chest. He survived, but imagine explaining that to a doctor. And yet, despite their fearsome reputation, barracudas are one of the most underappreciated apex predators in the ocean. They don't get the same Hollywood villain treatment as sharks, nor do they get the respect and admiration given to orcas. But their role is just as important. They keep coral reefs thriving, they control aggressive fish populations, and they remind every creature in the sea that speed, stealth, and precision can sometimes be more lethal than brute strength. So next time you hear someone say sharks are scary, remind them that the real nightmare is a creature that can strike without warning, slice its prey clean in half, and disappear without a trace. If the ocean had a pest control department, sea turtles would be the overworked, underappreciated employees trying to keep the gelatinous plague of jellyfish in check. While sharks and orcas dominate the food chain in dramatic, high-speed hunts, sea turtles quietly do one of the most important jobs in the ocean. They prevent jellyfish from taking over the world. And believe me, jellyfish are just waiting for their moment. Jellyfish don't have brains, don't have blood, and don't even seem aware of their own existence. Yet somehow they are taking over the ocean. With climate change and overfishing wiping out their natural predators, jellyfish populations have exploded in recent years, swarming entire coastlines, shutting down power plants, and causing fisheries to collapse. When there are too many jellyfish, they outcompete fish for plankton, block up fishing nets, and even clog industrial water systems. There have been real-life cases where entire nuclear power plants had to shut down because jellyfish swarmed their cooling systems. Imagine being a country's energy provider and having to explain that your entire grid just got taken down by a floating bag of goo. This is where sea turtles come in, nature's frontline defense against jellyfish world domination. Unlike most animals that avoid jellyfish because of their painful, venomous stings, sea turtles could not care less. Their thick skin and specialized mouths allow them to gobble up jellyfish like spaghetti, chomping down on them with zero hesitation. For some sea turtle species, like the leatherback, jellyfish make up almost their entire diet. But here's where things get interesting. Jellyfish are not nutritious at all. They are basically water balloons with a mild electric shock feature, containing almost no protein, very little energy, and absolutely no taste. Not that anyone is out here rating jellyfish for their flavor. So why do turtles love them so much? Because nature is weird, and turtles seem to have decided that a low-calorie, stinging blob is their version of a gourmet meal. The problem? Humans are making life hell for sea turtles, and in doing so, we're making life way too easy for jellyfish. With plastic pollution flooding the ocean, sea turtles often mistake plastic bags for jellyfish, swallowing them whole. And unlike jellyfish, plastic doesn't dissolve. Instead, it blocks their digestive system, slowly killing them from the inside out. It's a cruel irony that the very creatures fighting the jellyfish invasion are being wiped out by human stupidity. And then there's fishing nets, which trap and drown thousands of sea turtles every year. Even the ones that survive are often poached for their shells, meat or eggs, despite international protections. The result? Fewer sea turtles, more jellyfish, and an ocean slowly being overrun by mindless, stinging blobs. But don't count the turtles out just yet. Conservation efforts are bringing them back, and where turtles thrive, jellyfish populations are kept under control. In places where turtle populations have rebounded, jellyfish swarms mysteriously shrink, proving just how essential these slow-moving, jelly-eating machines really are. So next time you see a sea turtle gracefully gliding through the ocean, know that it's not just a cute, clumsy reptile. It's one of the last lines of defense between us and a jellyfish apocalypse. And if you think jellyfish are the biggest threat to the ocean's balance, just wait until you hear about the most feared executioners of the sea, the great white sharks, nature's most misunderstood apex predator. If the ocean had an executioner, it would be the great white shark. Not the judge, not the jury, just the cold, unflinching force that delivers the final sentence. No emotions, no hesitation, no dramatic speeches, just a powerful, torpedo-shaped predator built for one thing: enforcing the brutal laws of the ocean. Great white sharks are the most feared creatures in the sea, and honestly, they deserve the reputation. Not because they're mindless killing machines, they aren't, but because they are the ocean's most finely tuned predators. They don't hunt because they're bloodthirsty. They hunt because they are nature's most effective culling force, thinning out the weak, the sick, and the overpopulated. Every time a great white takes down a seal, it's not just eating, it's preventing an ecological disaster. But before we get into their terrifying role in marine balance, let's talk about why everything about them is built for destruction. First, their bite force is one of the strongest in the animal kingdom. Not the absolute highest, that title goes to crocodiles, but still strong enough to crush bones and rip through flesh like wet paper. Their teeth, hundreds of razor-sharp serrated triangles arranged in endless conveyor belts. If one tooth falls out, another rotates in like a Sharky assembly line, making sure they never run out of weapons. Unlike other predators, which rely on brute force, great whites use their teeth like saw blades, shaking their prey violently to slice through meat and bone in seconds. And then there's the ambush strategy. If you ever see a great white attack, it's not just a casual swim-up-and-bite situation. No, these sharks are explosive hunters, coming in from below at nearly 25 miles per hour, striking so hard that they often launch themselves clean out of the water with their prey in their jaws. This hunting tactic, called breaching, is one of the most dramatic things in nature. It's also completely unpredictable. Seals and sea lions, their primary prey, are fast, agile, and highly intelligent, which means great whites have to strike like lightning or risk losing their meal. And they don't waste their energy chasing things. They stalk, they calculate, and when the moment is right, they attack with terrifying precision. But here's the real reason why great white sharks matter so much. They keep the entire marine food chain in check. Take, for example, their role in controlling seal populations. Seals are adorable, sure, but too many of them can be an ecological disaster. Left unchecked, seals would overhunt fish stocks, decimating prey populations and throwing entire ecosystems into collapse. Great whites stop that from happening. By hunting just enough seals to keep their numbers balanced, they ensure that fish populations don't get wiped out, allowing marine ecosystems to thrive. And it's not just seals. Great whites also regulate mid-level predators like stingrays, large fish, and even other sharks. Without great whites patrolling the oceans, smaller predators would overpopulate, leading to rampant overhunting of smaller fish species, which in turn would collapse entire food chains. The best proof of this? Look at what happened in Cape Cod. For decades, humans hunted great whites to near extinction in the area, thinking they were protecting the coastline. The result? Seal populations exploded and fish stocks plummeted. Now, with conservation efforts bringing great whites back, balance is finally being restored. But it took decades of damage before humans realized they had wiped out the ocean's most important regulators. And here's where things get even more interesting. Great white sharks may not actually like eating humans. Yes, despite their terrifying Hollywood reputation, science suggests that most shark attacks on humans are accidental. Humans don't have enough fat to be worth the effort. Seals and sea lions are fatty, calorie-rich meals, while humans are mostly bony, lean, and not very satisfying to a shark that needs to maximize energy gain. Most recorded shark attacks happen because great whites are curious hunters. They take a test bite, realize we're not what they're looking for, and often leave. The problem? A test bite from a great white is usually fatal. And guess what? Even great white sharks have something to fear. Because despite being the most effective executioners in the ocean, there is one apex predator that they cannot outrun, outfight, or outsmart. Orcas.
Yes, orcas, the black and white gangsters of the deep, are the only thing that make great whites panic.
In places where orcas have been documented hunting great whites, often just to eat their livers, sharks vanish for months, even years at a time. They don't even try to fight back, they just get out of town. That's how terrifying orcas are. But while orcas may dominate with intelligence, great whites still reign supreme as the ocean's most feared natural executioners. Their job is simple: strike fast, regulate prey populations, and make sure the ecosystem stays in balance, whether humans like it or not.
And if you thought great whites were terrifying, wait until you meet the deep-sea assassins that never get the credit they deserve. Sperm whales, the silent warriors that battle the ocean's most mysterious monsters.
If great white sharks are the executioners of the ocean, sperm whales are the deep-sea gladiators, battling monsters in a world where sunlight never reaches.
These aren't just any whales. They are the largest toothed predators on Earth, capable of diving miles below the surface to engage in battles so intense that they return to the surface covered in long, sucker-lined scars.
Their opponent, the legendary giant squid, an alien-like deep-sea beast armed with tentacles, beak-like jaws, and enough brute strength to make horror movie directors jealous. But unlike orcas, sharks, or barracudas, sperm whales aren't fast, flashy killers. They are slow, methodical, and built for endurance, designed to take on prey that no other predator would dare challenge. While other marine predators rely on speed, ambush, or teamwork, sperm whales rely on one of the most bizarre superpowers in the animal kingdom: biological sonar so powerful it can stun prey into paralysis. That's right, sperm whales are underwater snipers, using sound waves as weapons. Let's break it down. Sperm whales hunt in complete darkness at depths where the water pressure is so crushing that submarines would implode. Down here, their eyesight is useless, so instead they rely on echolocation, firing out clicks that bounce off anything in their path, mapping their surroundings with pinpoint accuracy. But here's where things get insane. These clicks are so powerful that they can physically stun or even kill prey. Imagine being a squid, floating in the abyss when suddenly, boom, an invisible shockwave hits you, knocking you senseless. Before you can react, an enormous mouth lined with conical teeth clamps down, and just like that, you're gone. And sperm whales don't just snack on squid, they consume them by the thousands. Each day, a single sperm whale can eat over 1,000 giant squid, keeping their populations in check and preventing a cephalopod uprising in the deep. Without them, squid numbers would explode, and since squid are aggressive, cannibalistic, and eat pretty much anything, this would spell disaster for deep-sea ecosystems. In some areas where sperm whales have been overhunted, scientists have actually observed a spike in giant squid numbers, leading to disruptions in the entire food chain. But let's not pretend this is a one-sided battle, because giant squid are not defenseless victims. Unlike most prey that just run or hide, giant squid fight back. Their tentacles are lined with suction cups ringed with jagged, serrated hooks, designed to latch onto anything that dares to attack them. When sperm whales return to the surface, their heads and bodies are often covered in deep, circular scars, battle wounds from past encounters. This means that when a sperm whale hunts a giant squid, it's not just a meal, it's a full-on deep-sea deathmatch. And here's the part that makes sperm whales even scarier. They are some of the loudest animals on Earth, producing clicks so intense that they can rupture a human's eardrum from over a mile away. If humans could make sounds like sperm whales, we could shatter glass from across an entire city. It's believed that these sounds not only help them navigate and communicate, but may also serve as a weapon against prey, literally disabling squid with blasts of sound before moving in for the kill. But sperm whales are not just hunters, they are also keepers of deep-sea balance. Their hunting ensures that squid populations don't spiral out of control, which in turn regulates the deep-sea food web. The more sperm whales are removed from the ecosystem, the more squid rise in numbers, and the more chaos unfolds in the abyss. Unfortunately, like so many apex predators, humans have turned sperm whales into targets. Once hunted mercilessly for their oil, these deep-sea titans were slaughtered by the hundreds of thousands, pushing their populations to the brink. While commercial whaling has been banned, they still face threats from ship collisions, noise pollution, and climate change disrupting their food sources. The more sperm whales struggle, the more we risk unleashing a cephalopod nightmare. So, the next time you hear about sperm whales, don't just think of them as massive, slow-moving giants. Think of them as deep-sea warriors, battling squid in the inky darkness, enforcing balance in a realm few creatures dare to enter. And if you think sperm whales are impressive, wait until we talk about the most unlikely apex predator of all, one that doesn't use speed, size, or even teeth to dominate the ocean. Meet the octopus, the 8-armed genius that bends the rules of the food chain. If the ocean had a master thief, escape artist, and shadowy assassin rolled into one, it would be the octopus. Forget sharks, whales, or even barracudas. Octopuses don't play by the rules of the food chain. They don't have massive teeth, speed, or brute strength. What they have is something far more dangerous: intelligence. In an ecosystem where most predators rely on instinct, octopuses are out here strategizing, problem-solving, and quite literally bending the laws of nature to their will. And who do they keep in check? Lobsters and crabs. It doesn't sound dramatic at first. How could a soft, squishy, boneless creature be one of the top enforcers of the reef? But here's the thing. Without octopuses, lobsters and crabs would turn the ocean floor into a lawless wasteland. These crustaceans are relentless scavengers, eating anything they can get their claws on. They devour small fish, overgraze kelp forests, and turn reef ecosystems into barren wastelands if left unchecked. Octopuses prevent that from happening. Unlike sharks or barracudas that charge in with brute force, octopuses hunt with patience, precision, and an unsettling level of intelligence. A lobster's shell? No problem. The octopus wraps its arms around it, finds the weak points, and either crushes the shell or drills into it with its beak. An absolutely nightmarish process if you're a lobster. Crabs? Even worse. Some octopuses literally hypnotize their prey, changing colors and flashing patterns to confuse them before striking with lightning-fast precision. And let's talk about their tactical genius. In laboratory tests, octopuses have solved puzzles, used tools, and even opened jars from the inside. In the wild, they've been observed building shelters out of coconut shells, camouflaging into their surroundings with near invisibility, and even disguising themselves as other animals to evade predators. There have even been reports of octopuses breaking out of aquariums, sneaking into other tanks to steal fish, and then returning to their enclosures like nothing happened. But the real reason octopuses are critical for the ocean's balance is their role in controlling the populations of overgrazing crustaceans. Without octopuses, lobsters and crabs multiply like underwater locusts, stripping marine ecosystems of resources and leaving destruction in their wake. When octopus populations decline, whether due to habitat destruction, pollution, or overfishing, scientists have seen an increase in lobster and crab populations that disrupt the entire balance of the ocean floor. And despite their intelligence, octopuses have one tragic flaw: they don't live long. Most species only survive for 1 or 2 years, with some barely making it past a few months. To make matters worse, they die after reproducing, meaning every new generation has to start from scratch. No time to pass down knowledge or train the next wave of assassins. Imagine if humans were geniuses, but had to restart civilization every 2 years. That's the life of an octopus, but their short lifespans haven't stopped them from being one of the most effective enforcers in the ocean. Whether they're hunting lobsters in the reefs, ambushing crabs in the shallows, or sneaking into fish tanks just for fun, octopuses are proof that intelligence can be just as deadly as teeth. And if you thought the ocean's enforcers couldn't get any weirder, just wait until we talk about the ultimate apex predator that doesn't chase its food. It just sits and waits. Meet the stone-cold killers of the deep, the anglerfish and other ambush predators. If the ocean had serial killers, they wouldn't be the sharks, orcas, or even barracudas. No, the true cold-blooded assassins of the deep are the ones that don't chase, don't struggle, and don't even bother to fight. They just sit and wait. These are the ambush predators, masters of deception, lying in silence until an unfortunate victim makes the mistake of swimming too close. And once they strike, it's game over. Ambush predators play a very different role in ocean enforcement. They're not the aggressive patrollers like great whites or the calculated tacticians like orcas. They are the booby traps of the deep, keeping reckless prey populations in check simply by existing. They force smaller fish, shrimp, and even other predators to stay alert, never lingering too long in one place, because if they do, they'll find themselves inside the jaws of a creature they never even saw coming. And no ambush predator is more nightmarish than the anglerfish. The anglerfish doesn't need to chase prey, because prey comes to it. In the pitch-black depths of the ocean where sunlight has never touched, food is scarce, and animals have adapted in terrifying ways. Most creatures down here are blind, sluggish, and desperate for any meal they can find. That's where the anglerfish comes in. With a glowing lure dangling from its forehead, this deep-sea monster pretends to be a harmless, floating speck of light. To the unsuspecting fish or squid passing by, it looks like an easy meal, a rare flicker of food in the darkness. But as soon as they get close, snap! The anglerfish's mouth explodes open, revealing a cavernous, nightmarish set of needle-like teeth, and before the prey even realizes what's happening, it's already trapped inside. The worst part, the anglerfish's teeth curve inward, meaning that once something goes in, it's never coming back out. And just when you thought they couldn't get any weirder, anglerfish have one of the strangest reproductive methods in the entire animal kingdom. When a male finds a female, he bites onto her, fuses into her body, and dissolves into a pair of floating gonads, permanently attached to her like a living parasitic sperm bank. If that sounds horrifying, congratulations, you're officially disturbed by deep-sea biology. But anglerfish aren't the only ambush predators keeping prey populations in check. The ocean is full of trap setters, each with its own unique way of making sure that smaller, fast-breeding species don't overrun the ecosystem. Take the stonefish, for example, the most venomous fish in the world. Unlike the anglerfish, which hides in the depths, the stonefish lurks in shallow tropical waters, blending into the seafloor so perfectly that even experienced divers have no idea it's there. Step too close. Congratulations, you've just been injected with one of the most agonizing venoms known to man. Not only does it cause excruciating pain, but it can also shut down your nervous system and stop your heart in minutes. Then there's the stargazer fish, which takes ambush hunting to an even more devious level. Instead of just hiding, it buries itself completely under the sand, leaving only its tiny, dead-looking eyes exposed. When an unsuspecting fish swims by, the stargazer lunges upward with terrifying speed, swallowing its victim whole before sinking back into the sand like nothing happened. These creatures might not be as famous as sharks or orcas, but their role in the ocean is just as important. Without them, small prey species would become reckless, overbreeding and disrupting the delicate balance of marine ecosystems. But with these silent assassins lying in wait, prey are forced to stay cautious, keep moving, and never take safety for granted. So, while sharks get all the attention for being the deadliest predators of the sea, remember that the most terrifying hunters aren't always the biggest or the fastest. Sometimes, the most dangerous thing in the ocean is the one you never see coming. The ocean, for all its beauty and mystery, is not a place of peace. It is a battleground, a never-ending war between predator and prey, a delicate balance where only the strongest, smartest, and most adaptable survive. Every hunter, from the great white shark patrolling the deep, to the silent, lurking anglerfish, to the strategic, shape-shifting octopus, plays a role in keeping the marine world from spiraling into chaos. But what happens when we start removing the enforcers? For centuries, humans have seen the ocean as an endless, self-replenishing buffet. We take, we hunt, we fish, not in moderation, but on an industrial mass extraction level. And in doing so, we have unknowingly started an ecological collapse that may be impossible to reverse. Let's start with the most obvious target, sharks. Across the globe, over 100 million sharks are killed every year, mostly for their fins, which are sliced off and discarded, while the still living shark is tossed back into the ocean to sink and suffocate. Many species have dropped by over 90% in just the past few decades. To put it simply, we are wiping out one of the most ancient and important apex predators at an unprecedented rate. And the consequences? Nightmarish. Take the scalloped hammerhead shark, once abundant in the Atlantic. Overfishing wiped out most of its population, and without hammerheads keeping ray populations in check, the number of stingrays exploded. Sounds harmless, right? Wrong. The stingrays, now unchecked, began devouring shellfish populations, wiping out entire scallop and clam fisheries, and destroying an industry that had existed for centuries. The collapse was so devastating that local fishermen, who had supported the overfishing of sharks, were left with nothing to catch. The predator was gone, the prey took over, and the entire food web unraveled. But it's not just sharks. Orcas, sperm whales, and other marine giants are also under siege. Noise pollution from ships and sonar has disrupted whale communication. Commercial whaling has slaughtered their populations, and industrial fishing has stolen their food supply. As a result, squid populations have boomed in some areas, leading to mass overgrazing of fish populations that were once thriving. The effects are rippling through entire ecosystems, forcing some predator species to migrate to new areas, where they disrupt other food chains and cause even more instability. And then we have the jellyfish problem. Jellyfish, those brainless, boneless, floating blobs of doom, are thriving in a world where their natural predators, sea turtles and large fish, are being wiped out. The result? Swarming jellyfish takeovers, clogging fishing nets, ruining beaches, shutting down power plants, and even collapsing entire fisheries. There have been documented cases of jellyfish invasions wiping out billions of dollars worth of fish stocks in just a few years. Some scientists even warn that we are heading toward an ocean where jellyfish, not fish, will dominate the waters. Imagine a future where the seafood industry is dead, marine ecosystems are overrun, and the ocean becomes a murky, gelatinous soup. This is not a sci-fi movie plot. This is happening now. And if you think this is bad, we've already seen this play out on land. Remember Yellowstone National Park? When humans wiped out the wolves, the elk population exploded, overgrazing the land and turning forests into barren wastelands. The entire ecosystem collapsed until wolves were finally reintroduced decades later. The same exact thing is happening in the ocean, but at a global scale.
So is it too late?
Not yet. Marine conservation efforts are fighting back. In some regions where predator populations have been protected and even reintroduced, ecosystems have started to recover. Shark sanctuaries have been established in parts of the Pacific, where populations of reef sharks and hammerheads are slowly coming back. Countries like Palau and the Bahamas have banned shark fishing altogether, recognizing that a live shark is worth far more to the ecosystem and tourism than a dead one. Orca conservation programs are protecting their food sources, ensuring that these apex predators don't vanish from the oceans altogether. Sea turtle hatcheries are working to replenish turtle populations, giving them a chance to keep jellyfish plagues under control. And in some areas where marine reserves have been established, fish stocks have boomed, proving that when we give nature the chance to heal, it does. But the battle is far from over. The ocean doesn't need us to save it. It needs us to stop destroying it. Predators have ruled the seas for millions of years, keeping everything in balance, ensuring that no single species takes over and turns the ocean into a wasteland. But now we are the greatest threat. If we continue down this path, the ocean will change forever. And not in a way we can fix. But if we choose to protect these predators, to let sharks roam the reefs, to let orcas hunt freely, to let sea turtles keep jellyfish from swarming, then the ocean has a chance. Because in the end, apex predators don't just rule the sea, they keep it alive.